What is up, guys? Welcome back to After the Credits, the review show that no one asked for. Today, we are talking about Dante's Inferno. Played it on the PS3, and I had a very, very good time. Actually beat it in 2 days. So, very cool game. I'm excited to talk about it. So, let's just jump right into it. So, Dante's Inferno is a character action game very similar to the original God of War trilogy. However, instead of being based on Greek mythology like God of War, this is based on Christian mythology. Specifically, it is based on the Divine Comedy, which is a dark poem, is what they call it, but it's actually like a 500-page book. It's a huge thing. I don't know how a poem could be excruciatingly long, but that's what the game is based off of. You essentially play as Dante throughout the game, on your way to atone for all of your sins by traveling down lower and lower into each of the 9 layers of hell in order to rescue your wife, who essentially made a deal with the devil. Basically, she made a deal with the devil that you would stay faithful on your journeys as a Catholic crusader. Unfortunately, Dante broke that vow as a human, and because Beatrice, his wife, sold her soul to the devil, he had the right to take her to hell. So Dante goes to hell to try to save his wife. And throughout the game, you play through the 9 levels of hell. I will say that of all the games I've played for this show, I think the pacing in Dante's Inferno it's very fast, so it's very, very good in that way. It keeps you engaged and doesn't overstay its welcome. I almost wish some of the stages were a little bit longer, though. As you go through, you just kind of plow through the game at kind of a rapid pace. And, I mean, coming off of really the only games I can really compare this to with recency bias are games like Stellar Blade and Black Myth Wukong. And Black Myth Wukong, you had to travel from shrine to shrine to different worlds. And in Stellar Blade, you had a hub world that you would then hop on a ship to go to a different planet, essentially. But it really took me by surprise that in Dante's Inferno, if you decided you wanted to play through this game in one sitting, you would have no load times. I mean, no game stoppages at all throughout the way. There is no loading. You spawn in at the very beginning of the game. There is some loading screens, I guess, probably hidden through cutscenes that you're going to want to watch to keep up anyways, but the gameplay just goes and goes and goes and goes. There's no real stopping points throughout the game. It just kind of rapidly flies through, and I know that the developers ran out of time making this game, so you'll notice at the very end of the game, the last 3 layers of the 9th layer, or well, the 9th layer of hell and the last 3 layers of the 8th layer. It's really complicated, but those areas in particular are cut very short, and they weren't able to really go into a lot of detail because they ran out of time, which is sad because the 8th circle of hell is a very interesting circle. That's where the violence people go, essentially. So murderers of their neighbors, murderers of themselves, and then murderers of basically gods, so basically being non-believers. And those areas just aren't explored as well as I would like because you fly through them because they're incredibly short. But all the other layers of hell are pretty short as well. It's not a long game, it takes about 8 hours to beat, but all in all, frantic pace. It's definitely going to grab you and kind of keep you sucked into the game until you're done. And that's kind of the main reason that I finished it in such a quick period of time, because I was hooked and couldn't stop going. So all in all, plot is very, very good. The pacing maybe a little bit too fast, and the story, this is like my kind of shit right here. So I loved the setting and all that stuff. I think that stuff is all phenomenal in Dante's Inferno. Now, a very important topic about a game this old, 2010, is the playability in the modern day. Unfortunately, this game was never remastered, or there was never a sequel or anything along those lines, so the only way to play this right now is to get a 360 or PS3 and buy the game on the older console and play through them. It is a little bit of a pain in the ass because this game would be really cool to be able to play natively on PS5. It's never going to happen, but that would be super cool. But it is a little bit of an investment if you do want to play it, if you don't already have an old console. I was able to pick up my copy of Dante's Inferno for $16, so it was very, very cheap if you can find it. But you still have to buy an older console to be able to play it, which is a little bit of a bummer. The other thing you want to talk about with a game this old is how well they hold up to modern day standards. And graphically, I think this game looks pretty good. I mean, you can definitely see its age as you play through it. It's not as clean and crisp as modern games, but all in all, not something that is hard to overlook while you're playing through the game. And one of the very nice things about this game also is the cutscenes are actually done in CG. They're CGI cutscenes. So those cutscenes actually look very good according to modern day sensibilities. Those cutscenes are crisp. They have great facial animations because they're not in-game footage. They're done kind of exterior to the game. And you can definitely tell the graphic quality increase when you go into one of those cutscenes. But those hold up very, very, very well. Now, another mechanic in this game that I absolutely love is the ability to build Dante either as a holy warrior or an unholy warrior. This is very, very cool. It's a very cool system. So essentially you have two different skill trees that you can decide to level up in as you're playing through the game. If you decide to go with the unholy path, that essentially levels up your scythe to make your scythe your primary damage dealer, and also unlock some new combos that you can use with your scythe that are all, you know, enhancements on the original scythe combat. If you go for the holy side of things for, you know, contrast, you end up leveling up Beatrice's cross, which is essentially your wife's cross. And this is actually a projectile attack, a ranged attack per se. And same thing here. If you go the holy side, it'll increase the damage of your cross, as well as unlocking new abilities throughout the tree to be able to do cooler and cooler stuff on that path. This reminds me a lot of Infamous. Notoriously in Infamous, you're able to build your character as either a evil character or a good character with different trees and skills on both sides. This is a really cool concept that no game has really done since, and I really miss it because this is a really cool thing and a fascinating thing to do, and it adds a great amount of replayability. I would love to play through Dante's Inferno again. I will say I did go on the holy tree for my playthrough because that feels canonically correct, that Dante is a Christian crusader, and he's essentially going into hell to absolve people of their sins. So I went with the holy tree. It felt canonically correct. But yeah, I would love to do another playthrough and really work up that unholy tree to you know, play the game another time with a completely different play style. So I love that. I think that should be brought back into new games because that system is just fantastic. So hell yeah. Now we'll take a second to talk about the combat in particular. This is going to be dependent on which side you decide to go with, I think, for the most part. But as far as the holy side with the cross, it kind of fucks the combat a little bit, in my personal opinion. You essentially just end up spamming circle the whole way through the game to smash it with your cross. So there's not a lot of really crazy, complex combos that you're going to do. That's more on the unholy side, and since I didn't play that way through the game until, you know, the very end, where you need to use the scythe against the final boss, spoiler, most of the game was just a constant loop of me spamming circle, and sometimes holding and charging circle, which is a ability that knocks people off balance. So combat's not that great on the holy side. Let me know in the comments below if you played through the game on the unholy side, and if maybe this wasn't as big of an issue. You do also collect skills throughout the game as you play through, and how you use these. You hit L1, and then you have a skill assigned to each one of your buttons. I'm not going to go into a lot of these, but there's a skill system to do some damage and some cooler abilities. And then you also collect relics throughout the game that are scattered across the world, and those will amplify or apply modifiers to your abilities. So If you're going for an unholy run, you can get a lot of relics that will boost your ranged attacks, projectile attacks, that will boost your cross attacks. There's relics in the game that allow you to take less damage. There's relics in the game that recharge your mana passively. And all the relics can be leveled up to level 3, and obviously their benefits increase, and you just level them up by using them and killing enemies. So those systems are there. Pretty basic, all things considered, and the combat, at least for this playthrough that I did, was pretty midline just because of smash circle to win, essentially. Now, all things considered, I really, really love this game. I think it's an absolute great time to play through. I think it's worth a playthrough in 2025. I think it's a lot of fun. I think you can get a lot of enjoyment out of it without question. Despite the barrier to entry, I still think it's worth it to get the game if you have one of the older consoles, or if you aren't opposed to spending a little bit of money to play it. I think it's worth it. I think it's fun. I would love to see a sequel. Not going to happen. I would love to see a remastered version. Not going to happen, as we mentioned before, but this was a fun playthrough, one I'm not going to forget for quite some time. I will say the final boss in this game is a fucking bitch. If you spec into the Holy Tree all the way, like I mentioned previously, you do need to use your scythe for the majority of the final fight. I think I got Unholy up to level 4 before I got to the final boss, so 4 out of 7, not great. I wasn't doing the maximum potential damage that I could, but still got through it. Took about an hour and a half, though, so it was kind of a bastard. The rest of the game was really no issue. Other than just my nonsensical falling into holes shit that I do in every game, because I'm like losing my gamer skills the older and older in life that I get. But we don't have to talk about that. But as far as the difficulty goes, pretty breezy until the end. Anyways, other than that, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of After the Credits. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of Dante's Inferno, what your favorite parts were, what your least favorite parts were, and all that good stuff. I would love to hear it. Also, let me know what game you would recommend I dive into next. I'm obviously no game plan for these. I just go by the seat of my pants. I have an idea maybe for the next game. We'll see if it comes to fruition. But either way, love you all. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you guys soon.